Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, if you look at your agenda, you'll notice that I'm not actually Dawn Springett from Ahold. She was unable to make it today, so I've been asked to come in and stand in for her. Tim Drury from Stratus, as per the introduction. Stratus is an enterprise partner of Google. We work with large Google customers around the world to roll out Google technologies. Now, I know at these conferences, no one really likes to hear from vendors and consultants, let's be honest. We really normally want to hear about end users, from people in the trenches fighting the fires and using the technologies themselves on a day-to-day basis. So what I'm going to do today is focus as much of the presentation as I can around a case study that we've done with Ahold. I think most people in the room should know the name Ahold. It's one of the largest retailers in Europe, a Dutch company, and it strikes me as I walk around Amsterdam that you can't walk a block without coming across one of the Ahold brands, Albert Heijn, Atos, etc. So a very well-known retailer in Europe and with operations in the US as well. So as I said, Stratus has worked with Ahold and recently worked with them, with Dawn Springett, the head of their internal communications department, to roll out an intranet, a corporate collaboration platform for them based on Google technologies. So I'm going to talk about this from a case study perspective, focusing initially on, from a yesterday perspective, what were their needs and challenges that they had before rolling out this platform. I'm then going to talk a little bit about where they are today, what has happened since they've gone live with this platform. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about the tomorrow, the future, the plans they have to build on this platform, which is essentially an intranet for collaboration, and turn it into a platform for enterprise, social enterprise collaboration across their organization. So historically, where was Ahold before this engagement started? If we look at the needs of an organization like Ahold, essentially the communication and collaboration needs of any large multinational company, they're relevant across many different dimensions. And that makes them very complex. One dimension that Ahold thinks about is communication and collaboration from a people perspective, meaning who's actually doing the communication? Is it an individual and another individual? Is it an individual and a group in the organization? Is it two groups? And indeed, is it even internal communication and collaboration at all? Is it something that needs to go outside the organization to their partners, to their vendors, or even to their customers? There's a second dimension that they need to think about, which is how is this information and being accessed? Is it being accessed through the work environment, through the laptop or the desktop that they have at work, through their home environment, or indeed through a mobile environment, through an iPad or an iTouch or an Android or something like that? There's the dimension of content. What kind of information are we trying to share? Is it documents, files? Is it sort of a project space? Is it multimedia like pictures and videos, etc.? What kind of content are we sharing? And then there's the dimension of what kind of channel are we trying to communicate through? Is it sort of email, which has been around for years? Is it picking up the phone and making a voice call? Is it using instant messenger and chat and so forth? Or is it something more like posting or tweeting? And in fact, I was talking to someone in our IT department recently who read an article about holograms being developed. So perhaps that's another form of communication that will come online soon and make things even more complex. So many different dimensions that they were thinking about how to collaborate internally on. And obviously also thinking about if they needed to find any information that had already been shared, how would they get that? So at the center of all this, the ability to sort of store and search through all this information was critical for them as well. So these were the kinds of needs that they had. But these needs were not being met at all. They had a lot of challenges, and these challenges were largely a result of the fragmentation of their systems. And this is something that many large multinationals face challenges in, both in terms of those unstructured communications, things like video calls or emails or chats or tweets, And we think about these from a communication perspective as the stream of information, that unstructured information that sort of ebbs and flows and is very much real time. Ahold has many different systems for these, all standalone, that were fragmented. But then also in terms of more structured communications, and we think about these in terms of perhaps a lake, the kinds of information and communication that is relatively stable over time, might go up and down and change a little bit. And they had many different systems for storing this kind of information as well. They had not one legacy, on-premise intranet, but I think about 3 or 4 of them, all separate and disconnected. They had different kinds of systems for storing and archiving files, video, multimedia archives, and lots of custom applications as well for storing things. This was causing them really fundamental problems. People saying, I just can't find anything. I don't know where to go. Is it on that intranet, this intranet, that file storage? I don't know where it is. It was very difficult for them to make changes because of having all these different systems. Any update to one system had to be done to all the others, so that made change very difficult. It was expensive for them to run these systems. Lots of different vendors, lots of different software, lots of different hardware. It was keeping IT very busy, just maintaining all these, which was making it very time-consuming for them to make changes. And perhaps one of the harshest criticisms that was leveled at some of their legacy platforms were that nobody was even using them anyway, so what was the point of having them? So this was the kind of environment that they were operating in. And I see a few people nodding, so I guess that some of this kind of stuff might happen in your organizations as well. So that was the challenge that they were facing. What did they do to start to overcome these challenges? Well, Ahold was one of the early adopters of Google apps, Google Enterprise technology in Europe. They now have about 50,000 employees around the world using Google infrastructure, which is based in the Google Cloud. So this is Google Mail and other Google products. They went live on Google Mail more than a year ago. So for them, it was quite a logical choice to start to try and solve some of these collaboration and communication problems using the Google environment that they'd already subscribed to. So what they did was roll out for their corporate intranet. They used Google Sites and Google Docs to support their collaboration environment. And the benefits for them in doing this were multifold. One of the main ones was that there was no hardware or software cost at all involved for them to do this. They had already subscribed to the Google environment for their email, and for those of you who are familiar with Google products, all of them are included at one single cost for the organization. So there's no additional cost to switch on Google Sites or Google Docs or any of these products. They're all included. So that made it a very strong business case for them to do this. They're also relatively quick to implement. Everything's cloud-based, so it's very quick to implement. To roll out their corporate intranet for Ahold, it took about 12 weeks from the initial kickoff meeting that we had until the site went live on December 20 at the end of last year. So just 12 weeks to roll it out. In that time, the entire site was built. Around 10,000 documents were migrated into the site. And because it was able to be done so efficiently and cost effectively, it meant that for Ahold, the cost of doing this implementation was less than the annual maintenance cost of one of their legacy intranet solutions. So it did make a very strong case for them to do that. 1 month after go live, the number of people who are using this intranet to edit and change and update content has increased from 5 on the legacy system to now 50 today. And obviously with 50 people on a daily basis making changes and updating content, it's a much fresher, relevant, more dynamic site, and end users has also gone up drastically as well in the months since go live. One of the other key benefits that they have seen is that being a cloud product and coming from Google, one of the world's most innovative companies, these products, Google Docs, Google Sites, are not static. You don't buy them and they don't sit there for 3 years like a legacy IT solution. They're constantly being innovated, constantly being updated behind the scenes by Google in the cloud. And they see around 30 to 40 new features, new updates to their products every single month, 300-400 per year. Again, all done by Google, no need for upgrades and patches and so forth, done by the IT department. So already since Go Live a month ago, they've seen 2 or 3 really good features come on board for the Google Sites product that are being used by their people today. So those are some of the reasons why they decided to do that. What were some of the features that they switched on for this initial collaboration platform? They switched on document management. So there's an entire document management capability that was switched on for those 10,000 documents I mentioned. They switched on publishing for news, RSS feeds, etc. They switched on collaboration, so real-time collaboration on any of these Google Docs for multiple users all around Ahold. They switched on personalization so that users can see stuff that's relevant to them. And obviously built into all the Google products is the enterprise search capability, so that's enabled as well. Now, instead of just talking about it, I will give you a quick view of this initial collaboration site that they've built. Okay. I just need to shrink it down a little bit so it fits on your screen. That looks better. Bigger. Okay, well, I'll just try and zoom out as well. Okay, that should do. So for any of you, so again, this is built in Google Sites. Can I ask how many people have seen a Google site before? Yeah? So quite a few of you have seen a Google site. The first thing you might notice is that it doesn't really look like a Google site. If you've ever seen a Google site before, a lot of the standard templates that come with Google Sites are pretty basic, and a lot of people just use them as they are, and it generally makes for pretty poor viewing. So what we did here was obviously a lot of custom design and development to align the look and feel of the intranet with the Ahold branding. The second thing that you can see is that the search capabilities are built in, obviously, as with all Google products. So if I want to look for something like Q4 results, I can search and it will instantly come up, not just the results, but any references to the results as well. That seems like a very basic feature. I mean, we've all been searching the internet for years using Google, but you might be surprised how many large organizations, even today, don't have the ability for an employee just to go in and search for something and for it to come up straight away. Okay, so that was quite important for them. I mentioned personalization. Here is the My Page section of the site, which allows employees to have a look at any content that's relevant to them. So this is my calendar that's coming up, the calendar of the login that's being used. These are my documents that are coming up as well. Just my documents that are relevant to me being pulled directly from Google Docs. And I can also add down here any Google gadgets that are relevant or interesting to me. And there's around 1,000 that I can choose from. I've only added a couple here, one industry news, another one a translation engine in case I come across some Dutch material I can't read. But again, anything in terms of stock prices, weather, time zones can all be added here. Perhaps even games, referring to the previous presentation, can be added in here as well, around 1,000 to choose from. I mentioned document management, and for those of you who have looked at the Google technologies, sometimes they're overlooked from a document management perspective. But what we sometimes forget is that Google Docs is an extremely powerful document management tool. And so what we did for Ahold was integrate Google Docs and Google Sites together. So employees can go in and upload any documents into Google Docs directly themselves. And then those are available for the entire organization subject to permissions being shared simply by searching here. So I can search for budget in group finance, and any documents relating to budget will come up straight away. I can also elect to search through the content of the document and look for that as well. Again, it sounds basic, but many large organizations, you don't have the ability to just go and look for a document in one location and pull it from anywhere in the organization. So they were very excited about that. One final thing, very powerful thing that they've seen the benefit of is the ability of end users to be able to create sites themselves, simply by going create new site and building them out. And since the site went live a month ago. A couple of new sites have been built by Ahold employees. Here's one that talks about ethics and a code of conduct. Here's another one that talks about some retail strategy stuff. And again, all kinds of content being embedded in here, videos, pictures, etc., all coming from the Google environment. So a very powerful tool for them to be able to allow employees to take ownership over things like uploading documents into the knowledge center, creating new sites, and being able to share these with anybody in the organization simply by pressing share and putting the name of the group or the organization in there. So that's a quick overview of what has been done by Ahold from an internal communication perspective over the last 12 weeks using the Google Docs and the Google Sites product. And so by doing this, they have addressed a lot of the challenges, a lot of the needs that they had identified midway through last year. They've addressed needs around giving people the ability to decide who they share information with, who they collaborate with, either at the individual level or the group level or the department level. They've addressed the need around access because all of this technology is cloud-based, so I could be showing you the site demo equally on my Android phone as on my laptop. And they've addressed the needs around content because really any kind of content, multimedia, spreadsheets, documents can be shared amongst their employees now via this site. And they've also addressed what was really a critical problem for them around search. They can now find stuff, which is great news for them. However, there is something still missing, and that is more of the social enterprise dimension. And the key question for them now is, well, wouldn't it be great if they could bring any kind of real-time communications into one single platform and allow employees to communicate internally from a social perspective through that single platform. And that's really something that they are looking at right now, and that's where we move into thinking about where they go next. And fortunately, because they are using the Google technologies, they're able to do this using a new Google product that was released for enterprises only 3 months ago, which is called Google+. You may have heard of Google+. It was released for consumers initially and was sort of positioned a little bit as a combination of Facebook and Twitter. But what's exciting about it is that it has now been rolled out for enterprises and provides that single platform for any kind of communications within an organization, whether it be posting information to people, or whether it be doing real-time chat with employees, or even doing voice and video conference calls as well. And so Ahold now sees the front end of all of their internal communications as coming via Google+. Very much those unstructured, real-time communications we referred to earlier as a stream, as being provided by the Google+ technologies. Now, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that Ahold hasn't deployed this yet, so I can't show it to you in the Ahold environment. There is a reason they haven't deployed it yet, and that is that it is still a very new product. As I said, it was only made available for enterprises 3 months ago, for consumers a few months before that. And there are still some features that very large organizations like Ahold with 200,000 employees require before they switch it on. And those are features like the ability to control who communicates what to who. Lots of nodding in the room now, so I guess you know what I'm talking about. You might not want everybody in your organization to just be able to shout out to the world what they're doing each day. In fact, you may have read about a month ago, Google had a bit of a PR issue themselves, where one of their employees used Google+ and accidentally posted out some rather negative sentiment that he was feeling, that he'd intended just to share with his team, and he shared it with the world. So these things do happen, and most large organizations like Ahold are not require additional functionality to allow corporate comms teams to limit who can say what to who before they switch it on. So that's the bad news. I can't show you this working in Ahold. The good news is that these functionalities are being released. We don't know exactly when, probably this quarter. And Ahold, like many large Google customers around the world, are literally salivating, waiting for these things to be available so they can start using it. The other good news is that I can actually show you this technology working in a real-world environment, which is in our own company. Stratus is much smaller than Ahold. We're only about 100 people worldwide, so it's much easier for us to control who does what at an individual level. So what I'm going to do is show you our Google Plus environment that we use for social communications inside our organization every day. Okay. And again, I just have to change the size here so that you can see it properly. Hopefully you can see that. How many people in the room, by the way, have seen Google Plus before? Okay, good. So a lot of you know what we're talking about here. What we can see is first of all, we've got, this is my login, so I can see myself, and up comes a profile of me, and anybody in the organization can instantly see who I am. They can see who I'm connected to. They can see what I've been doing. They can see a profile of me, photographs of me, where I've lived around the world, photographs of me, etc. Now, the other key component of Google Plus is this center section here, which is the stream. Is the stream. So this center section here is where any of the posts that I make come out and are visible to anyone I choose to share them with. Who do I actually share them with? Well, that's where the idea of circles comes in. If I want to share something, hi, I am at the conference. Dad's typing there. I can decide who I share this with by selecting groups of people, which Google calls circles. And circles are essentially groups of people I'm connected to. It could be the people that report to me. It could be the people that I report to. It could be my own department. It could be the whole company, et cetera, et cetera. And I can just select them there, and that message will go out to all of them. And that's the bit that we need a bit of functionality to be able to limit, which is coming this quarter. I can obviously share that. I can attach any kind of media in there, and then it goes. So here's a post that I shared last night when asked to come and present at this conference today. And we can see already that some of the employees have started commenting on that. So I'm getting feedback on what I'm doing from people in the organization. And people are +1ing it as well, meaning they're liking it. That's the Google terminology for liking something. So I'm getting a lot of positive reinforcement for what I'm sharing with people. Now, I did mention that the platform brings together all kinds of communication channels and provides them all from one location. And so what we can see here is we have chat capabilities, so I can select someone, Christoph at Google. I can start chatting with him and pull that up and have instant messaging as well. Let me just, I think I've got some issues with the size of my, sorry about that, screen not matching. But yeah, and I can chat in here to Christoph. And interestingly, I can also call him just by clicking that button, and I can also video conference with him just by clicking the video conference button. So, and all of this communication cost is zero, right? It's all being done over the internet, and the communication cost is zero. I would say right now in our organization, about 80 to 90% of our communications is done through this, as of the last 3 months since we rolled this out. So phone bills have gone down drastically. We've gotten rid of our video conferencing service. Very strong cost reductions by using this in our organization. So that covers, posting and chatting and voice calling and video calling. But what about if I want to get, all of you in a room together virtually and talk to you? Well, that's where the idea of a hangout is used. And I can start a hangout by clicking here, or I can just click on hangout on an individual, and an impromptu video conference session will be set up instantly. I won't do one now, obviously, but I can show you a quick view of what one looks like. If I just go here, view my presentation again. Yes, here we go. Here we have a screenshot of a hangout that we were doing about a month ago when we were working on the Ahold intranet. So what you can see here is a lot of employees from Stratus on the side there. We're all talking in real time, doing video conferencing. You can see somebody's sharing their screen as we're working on the Ahold Intranet. And we also have the capabilities to do chat and to do real-time document sharing and to take minutes, all from the one platform. So what we're seeing at our own company is that the Google Plus environment has really become the front door for all the communications that we have internally and externally with partners and customers who are also using these technologies. And this is the vision that Ahold has moving forward to expand on the intranet collaboration platform that's been built. Does it mean that that platform is replaced? No, it doesn't, because your intranet is still necessary to store your structured information, to store information that is going to be stable over time. But it does add a fantastic layer on top of that for supporting your unstructured stream of information and bringing it all together in one single location. What we've seen is that this has now become the starting point for our day. We don't necessarily go straight into email and start emailing things, we go to Google+. And the expectation of very large companies like Ahold is that over time they will also be able to start using a platform like Google+ as the front door for their employees to engage with all of the internal communications that they need. Okay? I see I'm getting the time signal there, so I'm going to wrap it here. Hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavour of what Ahold has done and what they're planning to do and what indeed any companies can do using these fantastic cloud technologies from Google. Hi, question.
Thank you very much, Ian.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
Just a question on the security part. Is there a company that we deal with security space, the fact that it exists in the US? How did they go around that, or not around that?
The question was, how do you deal with the security issues, which is your reason for some companies not to cooperate with, or not to use Google?
There's sort of the technical answer, and then there's the perception. The technical answer is that Europe and the US have safe harbor agreements, which mean that any data that goes outside of the European environment into the US environment is covered by that safe harbor legislation, which means that it's essentially treated as though it is still in Europe. That's sort of the technical legal answer that they found and are working under. The other question is more around perception. People have this perception that, oh, if I put my data up in the cloud, it's not really secure. The reality is that there's no company on the planet that has more at stake at keeping data secure than a company like Google. If anything happened to data that was put into the Google environment, their brand would be extremely at risk. And as a result of that, the amount of money that they spend on keeping data secure in terms of a technology perspective, but also a process perspective, an organizational perspective, making sure that nobody gets access to this unless they really have to. They spend more money than anybody except for the Department of Defense in the US. So what that means is that when it comes down to it, in reality, data that goes into Google is much more secure than almost any environment that it could exist in a single corporation. And so, we're increasingly seeing large organizations move their data over, both here in Europe and in the US. In fact, General Motors made an announcement about 4 weeks ago that they're planning to move all of their stuff into the Google Cloud as well. So I think that perception is changing, but that's certainly an issue to deal with as well.
Can I remark on your state part? There's still the Patriot. There's the Patriot Act, which forces any American company to give up their infrastructure, their servers, even if they're located in Europe. So
yeah,
that doesn't compute with your early statement.
Yeah, and I do know that in the decision to go to Google, the Ahold legal team and the Google legal team did spend extensive hours talking about that. I wasn't party to those discussions. But my understanding is that any Patriot Act action is notified to Ahold if there is a need to take any action on that, is my understanding.
Room for one more question, please.
I can talk loudly, that's fine. First of all, just a response actually to that question, but secondly, I've got a question about the adoption, user adoption. So the Patriot Act applies to all cloud services that have got, for any company that's got any premises in the US. So Salesforce.com, you've got Blackberries, anything like that, you're going to be subject to the Patriot Act anyway. So that's kind of, you're always going to be subject to that, regardless of whether you've got Google Plus or anybody else. So the question that I was going to ask is about user adoption. So presumably the users within Ahold are going from a previous version of a document editing platform to Google Docs. What was the adoption like, and what were the user experiences of that? I'd be interested to know what that was like.
We're obviously 1 month in. I think it's been about a threefold increase in adoption compared to the existing system so far, but it's continuously going up.
Right.
There was an extensive comms planning and change management exercise that was put in place. There were virtual sessions to train people on how to use these technologies. There was also a huge auditorium filled with a lot of key people around the organisation, and presentations were given, I believe, 8 times. We ran presentations to employees to show them how to use it. So the change management thing is certainly something that can't be taken lightly, and a lot of effort was done to make sure that that adoption was driven that way.
And were they happy to go to a kind of a poorer form, perhaps, of document editing than they'd experienced before?
I think there's always different segments in an organisation. Some people take to it very quickly, others sort of complain and don't like change so easily. What we have seen in Ahold and elsewhere is that even for people who experience a period of pain getting used to the new system, they typically become evangelists after a matter of 6 to 8 weeks once they realise that, hey, I can share this in real time with somebody else, and I don't have to download it and attach it and email it across. And so once we get over that initial period of 6 to 8 weeks, we typically see high levels of satisfaction amongst all user groups.
Clear?
Yep.
Good. Thank you very much.